The music started softly, and the doors began to part. The whole world stood and turned to watch the woman of my heart. You walked in on your father's arm, with sunlight in your hair, and every ounce of breath I had escaped me right there. You were wearing the same smile that you wore when we first met, the one that broke me open in a coffee shop on Bedford Street. The setting sun was pouring through the windows of the chapel, and the world stopped spinning for the time it took to settle. I'd practiced my vows 100 times, I knew them word for word, but the moment that I saw you, every single thought was blurred. The only thing I could think was, I get to keep her now. I get to keep this woman walking toward me in her vow. Across the aisle at sunset, and I cried like a fool. Across the aisle at sunset, broke every single rule. I promised I would hold it in. I promised I'd be brave. Across the aisle at sunset, and the tears just came in waves. The tears just came in waves. You reached the altar where I stood and took my shaking hand. You whispered, hey, are you alright? Like only you'd understand. I nodded yes through tears and laughs, and tried to find my voice, and said the only thing that I could form, you are my choice. The priest began the formal part, the words we practiced through, but all I really heard was the sound of I do from you. And when I said the same to you, with my whole soul behind, the world inside the chapel and the world inside my mind aligned, and the sunset through the windows turned the whole place into gold, and every face I loved was watching us be made one whole. And for one shining moment in the aisle of all my life, I knew what every poem had ever meant about a wife. Across the aisle at sunset, and I cried like a fool. Across the aisle at sunset, broke every single rule. I promised I would hold it in. I promised I'd be brave. Across the aisle at sunset, and the tears just came in waves. The tears just came in waves. People always tell me that the wedding is one day, that the marriage is the marathon, and ceremony's just the way. But that one moment when you walked across the sunset aisle will live with me forever in the marrow of my style. It was the first time I let everyone see how much I love you. The first time I admitted publicly the things you'd come to do. And I'd play that moment back 10,000 times if given chance. The aisle, the sun, the gown, the look, the start of every dance. See you walking every time we have an anniversary. I find myself talking about the sunset in the aisle told. And someday when our daughter walks down some aisle with her dad, I'll watch from the pew and remember everything that I've had. And I'll take my wife's old hand in mine and squeeze it tight as light, and whisper across the aisle, it's sunset. That was my first sight. Across the aisle at sunset, that's the moment I'll keep first. Across the aisle at sunset, and the tears it taught to thirst. You walked toward me golden, and the world became a frame. Across the aisle at sunset, and I called your name, your name. And I called your name. Across the aisle at sunset, across the aisle at sunset, the most cinematic moment of a life I won't forget. Across the aisle at sunset, my love. The aisle at sunset was the day my heart said yes to everything its soul would get.